Delivering Happiness by Tony Hsieh. The author of this book and CEO of Zappos, Tony Hsieh has been an entrepreneur literally most of his life. He was always fascinated by how what he learned could be applied along the way to his personal life. So he decided to write this book to help others avoid making the mistakes that he's made. He also hopes that the book encourages people to start businesses and defy conventional wisdom and create their own paths to success. The book is divided into 3 sections, which I guess this keeps it pretty simplified. Profits and passion, and profits, passion, and purpose. Kind of makes me wish they were just profits, passion, and purpose. To have them compound on each other, I guess maybe he did that intentionally, I don't know. Maybe it was something he did profitably, passionately, and purposefully. Food for thought. Who knows? But this book, as you would not expect, is not entirely a Zappos corporate history biography thing. For anyone, when he's talking about these deep values and ideals and insights and elements that make Zappos, anyone who's like, bro, you're just selling shoes. There's nothing else you're doing. Like, what's all this hippy dippy pancake fluff about? Bruh. There's a lot more to selling shoes online than just selling shoes online, okay? At least on the scale at which Zappos does it. Profits, the first part, consists mostly of stories of the author growing up and finding his way to Zappos. Because at first I was like, is this an autobiography? And then it just turns into a company biography? We're about to find out. But in the beginning chapter, he's talking about his search for earning money. So I mean, as he grew from adolescence, I guess it makes sense to say that it began as an autobiography. I don't know if there's like a technical term for these books where it's written by a CEO or like a COO or like a company owner, and it talks about, you know, their beginnings and how they got into growing businesses and getting into that company, and then from there, maybe a third of the way into the book, it becomes about the company and not them. I don't know if there's a technical term for that, but something that stood out in this chapter discussing his experience behind the scenes in high school theater, he said there was something alluring about being involved in something where the sole purpose is to create an experience, an emotional journey for people, and then to have nothing but memories left afterwards to hold on to. The stories in this book are surprisingly good for some reason. The biggest first win for this guy was when his and his friend's business was bought out for $1 million by an employee of theirs named Lenny, who owned his own company called Bigfoot, which turned into Link Exchange, which was bought by Microsoft with only 100 employees for $265 million. It's fascinating that this guy had idea after idea during his childhood, and he always found a way to monetize it. There are some things, despite how smart he has always been, that you would have expected to be his downfall, like procrastinating and what seemed like an eventual disdain for manual labor or working for others. Reminding me a little bit of Warren Buffett. Hsieh ended up going to Harvard, and he had this almost emotional fascination with the internet. He had an internship at Microsoft, and his first internship out of college was at Oracle, which didn't last very long. This all made it seem inevitable that a business like Zappos came to be, and with all those ideas he had as a child, it was almost inevitable that they ended up specializing in selling something as seemingly random as shoes. Almost like Amazon being originally called Relentless.com, which to me was always a stupid name. Although, I mean, it's a cool name for a website, but not like a site that sells everything. I just bought some toilet paper and a cat toy laser, and you know where I got it? I got a new deal on Relentless.com. Like, I guess relentless buyers, relentless deals, relentlessly low prices. Zappos was originally named ShoeSite.com. His friends suggested calling it Zappos, named after Zapatos, the Spanish word for shoes. Zappos is a really cool name for a company. That's what I think so, at least. So was Amazon. I'm also surprised after Zappos started, all the dabbling he did in hobbies like day trading and poker, but I'm not surprised with how much he considered why he was doing what he was doing. Part 2, Profits and Passion, is more business oriented. It covers much of the business philosophies they believe in and live by at Zappos. He also shares some internal emails and documents that they still use today. The chapter Concentrate Your Position is where it moved much more into Zappos than into Tony Hsieh, where the author had to kind of make the decision to handle their own inventory and shipping as opposed to continued drop shipping. It sounded very stressful the way he described it. Also, his experience climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. He said that We learned we should never outsource our core competency. As an e-commerce company, we should have considered warehousing to be our core competency from the beginning. Outsourcing that from a third party, thinking that they would care about our customers as much as we would, was one of our biggest mistakes. Also getting approved for Wells Fargo for a $6 million credit line, and also earlier in the chapter, this loft that the author hosted parties at that they called the 810, and they also called it the bio, because the number 810 looks like the word bio. I don't know. It sounds cool. Both of them do. The next chapter is called Platform for Growth. Brand, Culture, Pipeline. If you're a business owner and you're watching this, the real fun for you at this point is probably going to be around this chapter. Talking about branding, they discuss customer service in a way that I've never heard anyone do so before. And do you know what I do for work? Mind you, I love doing it. I talk to people all day on the phone and online about buying cars and trucks. And if you need any pointers on customer service over the phone, at least with, philosophy on it, this chapter again is like a gold mine of insights, at least that I hadn't seen before. Look up Zappos customer service on Google. The company has created a reputation around their customer service, just like the CEO intended. They advise not using a script, not doing upsells. There's a story about one of the employees ordering pizza over the phone for a customer who was at a hotel that had a policy not to serve warm food past 11 p.m. Really? Following that is testimonial after testimonial after testimonial from employees whose lives were like 360'd after they started at Zappos. There are a lot of books that I would say, check out the book because of this chapter. This is one of those books. And this is that chapter. Part 3 is Profits, Passion, and Purpose. It outlines their vision at Zappos for taking things to the next level. Zappos relies heavily on word of mouth. The company takes very seriously the use of the word wow as a verb. You don't need to put effort into reaching out to influencers or the press. If your company already creates interesting, I gotta tell someone about this type of stories. The chapter Taking It to the Next Level talks about, finally, Amazon's acquisition of Zappos and how smooth it was. I think Amazon really believed in them, and Amazon watched them for years before buying them, and given how obsessed Zappos was with that customer experience, it was only a matter of time until they were bought out. There's a little keynote involved with Jeff Bezos talking about the 3 things that he learned most. If you've studied Amazon or his business philosophy, you already know plenty about them: a focus on the customer experience, a focus on innovation, and a focus on the long term. Something I really love about Delivering Happiness is how personal Hsieh wrote it. He reads emails, like personal emails that he's written to Bezos. Very important emails he's written to the Zappos staff. He answers personal question after personal question that he got from so many people during different points in Zappos' history. You also, in the audio program, hear those stories I was talking about from actual employees and executives. Like, it's just very personal. I feel like it's cliche to say this as a listener, but you do feel like you're there with them in the recording version. In the last chapter, Endgame, the author talks about what it means to be happy, different frameworks of it and what they mean, perceived control, perceived progress, connectedness in relationships, and being part of something that's just bigger than yourself. In the audio version, at least, there's a closing conversation between Tony Hsieh and a guy named Warren Bennis, who I hadn't heard of before, but I think I've seen his name a couple times since, who was considered a pioneer in the field of leadership studies. Quotes: "First they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win. I failed my way to success. In the pursuit of knowledge, something is added every day. In the pursuit of enlightenment, something is dropped every day. You can invent your way out of any box if you believe you can." Direction 1. This is one of those rare books where there are different points that I would recommend for different people. That's something I found interesting about it. Primarily anyone who's a dreamer, anyone who wants to learn more about Zappos, anyone who wants to learn about business development and customer service, check out the second half. Anyone who wants to learn some insights on what makes a successful person successful and how they see things at a young age, check out the first. Anyone who wants to learn more about corporate culture and leadership, check out the middle and the end. It's that rare book. Direction 2. I recommended Delivering Happiness in my review of this book, but Trailblazer by Mark Benioff is really similar in terms of like structure, but it also talks about really different topics, like how social justice issues get kind of tied up in the operations of a large tech company as it grows. But in terms of structure, like, this is what my childhood looked like as a successful CEO. This is how I grew up. This is where, the ideas of the company came from, and this is where we're going now. Tony Hsieh is also actually a huge fan of some of the different books like the ones I review on this channel, particularly in business leadership and maybe fulfillment. Good to Great by Jim Collins came up a lot. Like a lot. He also brought up the book Flow by Csikszentmihalyi. A million different authors bring up flow. I like the concept more than the book, but the book is still pretty good. And I think he mentioned something about 10% Happier by what's that guy's name? Dan Harris? 10% Happy. Yeah, Dan Harris. Delivering Happiness by Tony Hsieh. There's a link in the description if you guys want to check it out and read the reviews. That and all the other books I mentioned in this video if you want to check those out too. If you guys buy anything through the links in the description, then I get commission, which helps me build this channel and keep making these videos. If there are any other books that you guys want me to check out and review, please let me know in the comments below. Also let me know if you checked out this book and you liked it. But hey, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, because I don't get why people watch this far into my videos and they don't subscribe. But if you have subscribed and you want to turn it up just a notch and turn on that notification bell to get a notification whenever I drop new videos, that would mean the world to me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. You can find me everywhere, and I will see you then.